Did you think when you agreed to marry Jordan in your mid-20s, the way that your life is now, did you have any idea?
No, I always thought I wanted to marry him to see what would happen in his life because I knew he was...
After many years of public attention around Jordan Peterson, his wife has finally spoken out. And what she says is not what many fans expected. For a long time, she stayed quiet, while praise, criticism, and controversy followed her husband everywhere. Now she is talking for the first time in a rare and surprising way about what life has really been like behind closed doors. But instead of confirming what people thought they knew, her words are raising new doubts and strong emotions. What is the real truth behind their story? Join us in this video as we reveal the details. Jordan Peterson's wife breaks her silence. Jordan Peterson allegedly spent most of his life trying to understand pain, struggle, and why human beings suffer. Long before millions of people knew his name, reports suggest he was already interested in big questions about life. He allegedly grew up in a small town in Canada where life was simple, cold, and quiet. People who followed his story often say he was the type of person who read a lot, thought deeply, and spent time trying to understand difficult ideas. Reports suggest he did not become famous quickly. Instead, he allegedly built his career slowly through years of teaching, studying, and speaking to students. He first studied politics before later moving into psychology, a decision that would reportedly shape the rest of his life. Over time, he allegedly became known as a professor who could explain difficult topics in ways many people understood. Students reportedly filled his classes because he mixed psychology, philosophy, history, religion, and personal responsibility together. As years passed, reports suggest recordings of his lectures began spreading online. Millions of people allegedly started watching. His audience kept growing because many listeners believed he was speaking directly to problems they were facing. He often talked about suffering, responsibility, discipline, and meaning. His message allegedly reached people who felt lost, confused, or without direction. Many supporters believed he gave them structure at a time when they needed it most. Then public attention reportedly became much bigger. Allegedly, public debates and controversial topics pushed him into worldwide discussions. Supporters praised him for speaking openly. Critics strongly disagreed with many of his views. But whether people supported him or not, reports suggest more people kept paying attention. His books allegedly sold millions of copies. His speaking tours reportedly filled large venues. He became more than a professor. He allegedly became a global figure. Yet while public success was growing, reports suggest private struggles were quietly building. One of the biggest turning points allegedly came when he faced a serious illness. According to reports, this period placed huge emotional pressure on him and those close to him. People close to the story have allegedly said family life became focused on survival, treatment, and uncertainty. During this difficult time, reports suggest he was prescribed medication to help manage stress, anxiety, and sleeplessness. At first, this reportedly seemed like a normal medical decision during a crisis. But according to later reports, the situation allegedly became much more complicated. Claims suggest he developed dependency on medication that had originally been prescribed to help him function through difficult days. Withdrawal reportedly became severe when he tried to stop. Allegedly, the process became far harder than expected. Reports claim physical pain, emotional distress, and neurological symptoms followed. Searching for relief allegedly led him to treatment in different countries. Public appearances reportedly became less frequent during this time. Many followers noticed changes. Some supporters worried openly. Others believed recovery would happen quickly. But according to reports, recovery allegedly turned into a much longer process. Even during periods of poor health, reports suggest he tried to continue working when possible. Books were published. Interviews happened. Public appearances returned at times. Supporters often pointed out that he appeared determined to continue despite obvious struggles. But behind those appearances, reports suggest health problems may have remained serious. What many once saw as a story about achievement allegedly slowly became something different. It became a story about physical pain, emotional pressure, medical struggles, and a person trying to hold together a life that had changed dramatically. For many followers, This part of the story was difficult to watch because the man who spent years explaining suffering allegedly found himself facing suffering that could not easily be solved. Now, after years of staying quiet, Jordan Peterson's wife allegedly broke her silence about her husband's illness, and it might have been more serious than the public first believed. The timing of her comments, mixed with years of family health struggles, has fueled speculation that the burden behind closed doors may have been much heavier than anyone realized. Still, without full confirmation, much of this remains speculation. But as the years passed and the public image stayed strong, a bigger question allegedly started growing behind closed doors. What happens when someone who spent decades teaching others how to face suffering suddenly finds himself trapped in a battle his own words may not be enough to fix? Let's learn more. Health battles, daily pain, and an uncertain future. As time moved forward, reports suggest Jordan Peterson's health struggles allegedly became more difficult and more complicated. What once appeared to many people as a temporary crisis reportedly turned into years of ongoing problems. According to public discussions and statements from people close to him, recovery allegedly became slower and more painful than expected. Some reports suggest later illnesses created new problems on top of old ones. One major health event frequently mentioned in reports allegedly involved hospitalization for pneumonia. While pneumonia itself can be serious, reports claim complications may have followed. Some accounts mention infections and additional medical issues that allegedly placed even more stress on an already struggling body. According to reports, these events may have changed the course of recovery. Around this period, reports increasingly began discussing neurological symptoms. One condition often mentioned is akathisia, which allegedly causes severe internal discomfort, restlessness, and constant distress. People who describe this condition often explain that it feels different from normal pain. Reports suggest sufferers sometimes describe feeling trapped inside their own bodies. Allegedly, symptoms can affect movement, sleep, concentration, mood, and daily life. Some reports claim the condition can continue for long periods and become extremely difficult to manage. By early 2026, many followers allegedly noticed public changes. Events reportedly disappeared from schedules. Speaking appearances allegedly became rare. Interviews slowed down. Online activity reportedly changed. For someone who once traveled often and appeared regularly in public discussions, the silence became noticeable. People started asking questions. Supporters wanted updates. Critics wondered whether he would return. According to reports, answers slowly came through family members and close supporters. Public comments allegedly suggested he was stepping away from work to focus on health. Reports suggest family members described painful mornings, difficult days, and long recovery periods. According to claims shared publicly, mornings were allegedly especially hard. Relief reportedly came later in the day, sometimes only after many difficult hours had already passed. One description reportedly captured public attention more than most. Pain was allegedly described as existing in another realm. For supporters, this description created strong reactions because Peterson spent years talking about enduring suffering with meaning and strength. Many people allegedly began asking whether philosophy alone can help when pain becomes overwhelming. The emotional center of this story reportedly shifted over time. It stopped being mainly about politics, debates, books, or controversy. Instead, it allegedly became about family support, illness, recovery, and uncertainty. Reports suggest his wife remained close through these difficult periods. Family support allegedly became one of the most important parts of daily life. Questions about the future remain. Reports are still uncertain about whether a full return to public life will happen. Some observers believe improvement is still possible. Others think permanent changes may already have happened. Supporters continue hoping for recovery. Critics continue watching. But according to reports, nobody close to the situation appears willing to make strong promises about what comes next. What seems clear from public discussions is that this story allegedly changed how many people see him. To some, he remains a teacher fighting through hardship. To others, he represents how quickly health can change a life. Either way, reports suggest his situation now feels less like the story of a public figure and more like the story of a person dealing with long-term pain while trying to keep moving forward one day at a time. But before the pain, the silence, and the health struggles allegedly changed everything. An important question remained. How did a man who spent decades teaching millions how to face suffering become the person now fighting one of the hardest battles of his own life? Let's find out. The man who helped people understand suffering. Jordan Peterson allegedly spent much of his life trying to answer difficult questions about pain, struggle, meaning, and why human beings suffer. Long before millions of people knew his name, reports suggest he was already deeply interested in understanding why life can feel difficult and how people survive hard times. He allegedly grew up in a small town in Canada where life was quiet and simple. People who followed his story often describe him as a child who read constantly and asked questions that many people around him could not easily answer. Reports suggest he wanted to understand human behavior from an early age. As he got older, those questions reportedly stayed with him. He allegedly studied political science before later moving into psychology. Reports suggest this decision changed the direction of his life completely. He later taught students, researched human behavior, and spent years trying to understand belief systems, suffering, and meaning. According to reports, he slowly built a reputation inside universities before becoming known to the wider world. His lectures allegedly reached large audiences because people felt he explained complicated subjects in ways ordinary people could understand. Many supporters reportedly connected with his message about responsibility, discipline, and finding purpose during difficult times. Over time, reports suggest his audience became much larger. Videos spread online, books sold in large numbers. Public discussions around his work allegedly turned him into one of the most recognized voices in psychology and public life. Supporters saw him as someone who understood struggle. Critics disagreed with many of his views, but reports suggest both supporters and critics continued paying attention. Behind the public success, however, reports suggest personal struggles were quietly growing. One major challenge allegedly came through family illness and years of emotional pressure. Reports suggest difficult periods inside the family created stress that lasted much longer than outsiders realized. Family members allegedly experienced repeated health scares, emotional exhaustion, and uncertainty about what the future would look like. Mental health reportedly also played an important role in his personal story. According to reports, depression allegedly affected several generations of his family. Public discussions over the years suggest these struggles were not hidden. Instead, they were openly discussed as part of his life experience and understanding of suffering. Reports claim treatment and support helped him continue building his career during difficult periods. Supporters often point out that much of his work focused on surviving hardship because hardship was already something he understood personally. As his influence grew, so did pressure. Reports suggest years of public attention, constant travel, interviews, debates, and responsibility created additional strain. While many people saw a confident public figure, reports suggest private challenges may have been growing at the same time. The story many people once saw mainly as success allegedly slowly became something more complicated. It became a story about balancing public expectations with private struggles. Reports suggest this balance became harder as health problems started appearing more often. What many followers admired most was that he continued speaking about suffering while reportedly dealing with difficult personal battles himself. But according to recent claims, the hardest battles may still be ahead. For many supporters, this changing picture created a different way of looking at his life. Instead of only seeing a professor, writer, or speaker, people allegedly started seeing someone dealing with the same human struggles he spent decades talking about. The difference was that now the struggle reportedly became impossible to separate from his everyday life. But as the success grew and the public image became bigger, another question allegedly started forming behind closed doors. What happens when years of pressure, loss, and hidden struggles finally catch up with the person who taught others how to endure pain? Let's delve deeper. Health struggles, family pressure, and an uncertain future. Reports suggest Jordan Peterson's health problems allegedly became more serious in recent years.
And then this summer, So this has been really, like, his severe health problems have really been going on since June. After about 2 weeks, he wasn't able to walk.
What first appeared to some people as ordinary stress or exhaustion reportedly developed into something much larger. Family members allegedly began describing long periods of pain, emotional pressure, and difficult days that changed daily life completely. A major part of recent discussions centers around a neurological condition called akathisia. Reports describe it as severe internal discomfort and constant restlessness. People who speak about the condition often explain it as feeling trapped inside your own body. According to reports, symptoms allegedly include inability to relax, constant movement, difficulty sleeping, emotional distress, and ongoing discomfort that does not easily stop. Family members reportedly described watching this condition unfold as heartbreaking. According to claims shared publicly, those closest to him allegedly struggled emotionally while trying to understand what was happening. Reports suggest the emotional impact affected the whole family, not only the person experiencing the symptoms. His daughter allegedly explained that watching his suffering became one of the hardest experiences of her life. Reports suggest months passed where fear, uncertainty, and stress became normal parts of family life. Several possible reasons have allegedly been connected to the worsening condition. Reports suggest grief may have played an important role. The deaths of both parents reportedly happened close together, creating emotional pressure that would be difficult for anyone. At the same time, reports suggest major life changes were happening. Relocation between countries, selling long-time family property, and adjusting to new environments allegedly created additional stress. Another factor reportedly discussed is possible mold exposure. Some reports claim family members believe environmental exposure may have affected an already vulnerable nervous system. However, many details surrounding this remain uncertain and are still discussed as possibilities rather than confirmed facts. Reports also suggest doctors allegedly struggled to fully understand what was happening during the early stages. Family members reportedly searched for answers while symptoms continued. Some claims suggest specialists and medical professionals did not immediately identify the problem. This uncertainty allegedly increased frustration and emotional exhaustion for everyone involved. Supporters also noticed changes publicly. Reports suggest appearances became less common. Speaking engagements reportedly slowed down. Public activity allegedly reduced as health problems became harder to manage. People who followed him closely reportedly started asking questions because the changes became difficult to ignore. Through all of this, family support allegedly became one of the most important parts of daily life. Reports suggest relatives stayed close while trying to manage the uncertainty surrounding recovery. Questions about the future remain difficult to answer. Some supporters believe improvement is possible. Others think long-term changes may already have happened. Reports remain unclear about what public life may look like going forward. What seems clear from available information is that this situation allegedly changed the conversation around him. Instead of focusing mainly on lectures, books, or controversies, discussions now focus more on health, suffering, family support, and survival. For many people watching from the outside, the story no longer feels like the story of a public figure alone. It allegedly feels like the story of someone facing pain while trying to keep moving forward one day at a time. As his personal struggles slowly moved out of the shadows, how did Jordan Peterson go from a respected professor and self-help voice to one of the most controversial public figures in modern culture? Stay tuned for more. From professor to public firestorm. Jordan Peterson allegedly changed from being mostly known inside schools and universities to becoming one of the biggest voices in public debates. At first, many people reportedly knew him as a professor who taught psychology and spoke about meaning, personal responsibility, and how people deal with hard times. But over time, his ideas moved outside classrooms and reached millions of people online. As more people started hearing his opinions, his name became connected to larger political and social arguments. Supporters allegedly saw him as someone speaking hard truths, while critics believed he created more division. His rise into public life reportedly happened fast, and soon he was no longer seen only as a teacher, but also as a public figure involved in culture wars and political debates. Much of the attention around him allegedly came from his strong opinions on social issues. He reportedly became well known after speaking against certain policies connected to gender identity and pronoun use. Supporters allegedly believed he was defending freedom of speech and standing against forced language. Critics reportedly argued that his words hurt transgender people and made social tensions worse. These debates reportedly made him more famous because both supporters and critics continued talking about him. Over time, the arguments around him allegedly became larger than the original issues and turned into wider debates about free speech, identity, and politics. Peterson also allegedly became known for speaking strongly against communism and warning people about authoritarian governments. According to discussions around his work, he often compared modern political movements to dangerous systems from history. Supporters reportedly believed these warnings were important because history can repeat itself. Critics allegedly argued that these comparisons were too extreme and sometimes created fear instead of understanding. His anti-communist views reportedly became one of the biggest parts of his public image and influenced many of his talks and interviews. Another controversial part of his public message allegedly involved his views about culture, universities, and ideology. He reportedly argued that some institutions were being influenced by ideas he believed were problematic to education and society. According to critics, these arguments sometimes sounded like conspiracy theories or simplified very complex issues. Supporters, however, allegedly believed he was pointing out problems that others ignored. These disagreements created even more arguments around his work and made people either strongly support him or strongly reject him. Universities and academic subjects also became a major focus of his criticism. Peterson allegedly argued that some areas of study had become more political than educational. He reportedly claimed students were sometimes being taught ideology instead of practical skills and critical thinking. Critics argued that attacking entire subjects was unfair and ignored the value those fields bring. Supporters reportedly believed he was defending traditional education and academic standards. These arguments added more controversy around his reputation because education itself became part of the political battle surrounding him. Peterson's popularity allegedly grew even more because of podcasts, interviews, and social media. He appeared on many platforms where he discussed self-help ideas together with politics and culture. His books and lectures reportedly attracted people looking for advice about purpose, discipline, and personal growth. Many supporters said his messages helped them during difficult periods in life. At the same time, critics argued that mixing self-help with politics made his influence more controversial. As his audience grew, so did criticism. Discussions about history also created major disagreements around him. Peterson allegedly faced criticism for comments involving historical events, political systems, and famous leaders from the past. Critics claimed some of his explanations were inaccurate or oversimplified complicated issues. Supporters reportedly defended him by saying he was trying to understand human behavior and why societies fail. Over time, these debates became part of his public image. Today, Peterson allegedly remains one of the most discussed public figures because people continue to disagree strongly about whether his influence has been helpful, controversial, or something in between. How did Jordan Peterson go from a quiet academic life in Canada to becoming one of the most talked-about public thinkers in the world? Let's take a closer look. Jordan Peterson, early life, academic career, and rise to global attention. Jordan Peterson was born on June 12, 1962, in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. He grew up in a small town called Fairview. His family did not have much money, but they valued education and learning. His father worked as a school teacher, and his mother worked as a librarian. This meant he grew up around books and reading. From a young age, he spent a lot of time in libraries and reading different kinds of books. Some of the books he read were written by George Orwell, Aldous Huxley, and Alexander Solzhenitsyn. These books talked about society, government, and human suffering. They helped shape how he began to think about the world and human behavior. He later studied at university and became very interested in how people think, why people behave badly, and how meaning is formed in life. Jordan Peterson worked in higher education for many years. He became a professor and researcher at Harvard University from 1993 to 1998. During this time, he studied psychology. He focused on personality, anger, addiction, and how people believe things. He also taught students and guided them in understanding human behavior. After Harvard, he returned to Canada and worked at the University of Toronto. There, he continued teaching psychology. He also worked as a clinical psychologist, meaning he saw patients and helped people with mental health problems. He worked with people dealing with addiction, depression, and emotional struggles. He combined teaching and real-life therapy work, which gave him more experience with human problems. In 1999, he wrote his first major book called Maps of Meaning: The Architecture of Belief. This book was very complex and difficult to read.
And I thought I'd read you an excerpt from Maps of Meaning: The Architecture of Belief, which is a book I published in '99 with Routledge.
It tried to explain how people create meaning in life and how they understand chaos and order in the world. The book mixed ideas from psychology, religion, stories, and philosophy. At first, the book did not sell many copies. It was not popular in the beginning, but later it became respected in academic and intellectual circles because of its deep ideas. Many people began to see it as an important work, even though it was hard to understand. Over time, this book helped build his reputation as a serious thinker. Jordan Peterson became widely known in 2016 after he posted videos on the internet. This caused a lot of attention and debate. Many people supported him, while others strongly disagreed with him. His name quickly became known around the world.
I'm going to talk to you today about a book that I'm publishing in January of 2018. It's called 12 Rules for Life: An Antidote to Chaos.
In 2018, he wrote another book called 12 Rules for Life: An Antidote to Chaos. This book became very popular and sold millions of copies. It gave simple life advice mixed with psychology and personal responsibility. Because of this book, his fame grew even more. He became one of the most talked about public thinkers in the world. At the same time, he also became very controversial. Some people saw him as a wise teacher who helped people improve their lives. Other people saw him as a figure who caused political and cultural arguments. His ideas were widely discussed, supported, and criticized in many places. After building a life of study, teaching, and public influence, why does his work now divide opinions so sharply, with some questioning whether his ideas are truly profound at all? Keep watching for more. The Illusion of Depth: A Critical Look at Style over Substance. Jordan Peterson is often shown as a very deep and highly intelligent thinker in public discussions, but this view gives a different opinion. It says that many people believe he is profound, but in reality, many of his main ideas are simple and easy to understand. These ideas are not new or special. They are basic life lessons that most people already know. Things like telling the truth, taking responsibility for your actions, facing problems instead of running away, and trying to live a disciplined and meaningful life. The View says these ideas exist in many cultures and have been taught for a very long time. So, according to this opinion, there is nothing very new or highly complex about them. The main issue raised in this view is not only about the ideas, but about how they are presented. It says the ideas are often explained in a very long and complicated way. Instead of using short and clear sentences, the language becomes heavy and hard to understand. Many big and complex words are used, and the sentences are often long and packed with meaning that is not easy to follow. Because of this, the main message can become hidden or unclear to many readers or listeners. It also says that different fields like psychology, mythology, philosophy, and science are mixed together in his explanations. While these subjects are important on their own, the criticism says that combining them in a very complex way can make simple ideas harder to understand instead of clearer. This can make the audience feel like the idea is very deep, even when the basic message is simple. Another important point in this view is that when people hear very complex language, they may think the idea is more intelligent than it really is. When something is hard to understand, some people assume it must be very smart or very deep. This can create an impression of great wisdom even if the core idea is simple and familiar. So the style of speaking or writing can change how people see the message, even if the message itself is not new. The View also says that simple moral lessons are often expanded into very large explanations about life, society, and human behavior. This means a small idea can grow into a big system of thinking that feels heavy and important. But, in the end, the base idea may still be simple and easy to explain in plain words. The criticism says this expansion makes the ideas look more complex and more powerful than they really are. Another point is about confidence in speech. It says when someone speaks in a strong and confident way, people may feel less likely to question what is being said. If the speaker uses big words and sounds very sure, listeners may feel unsure of themselves. Because of this, they may accept the ideas without fully understanding them or breaking them down carefully. The View suggests that confidence can sometimes replace clear understanding in the mind of the audience. The criticism also says that this combination of confident speaking, complex language, and simple ideas creates a strong public image. People may think they are hearing deep wisdom when they are actually hearing simple ideas explained in a complicated way. This can make the speaker seem more important or more intelligent than the ideas alone would suggest. In the end, this view concludes that the influence of Jordan Peterson does not mainly come from new or highly complex ideas. Instead, it comes from simple moral lessons that are stretched into large explanations and delivered in a way that sounds very deep. It says that the style of communication plays a big role in how people understand and value his work, sometimes more than the actual content of the ideas themselves. What do you think about Jordan Peterson's struggles? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you for following the story of Jordan Peterson. From his rise as a respected academic to the intense public debate surrounding his ideas and influence. If this story changed how you see intellect, fame, and controversy, don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the next video for more stories. See you there.